Welcome back, Suzanne. Welcome back to another one of our fireside chats that we're doing leading up to our Unleash the Power of Your Story 2-day training. How are you doing?
I
even though I just saw you 2 days ago.
I am well. I was like, where did the weekend go? Oh my goodness. So what happens when you train on the weekend.
I know I was saying the same thing to myself. It was just like, oh my gosh, it's Monday already. I didn't have a weekend. But it's always so much fun being able to do training with you. And so, I'm super excited because we are 4 days away from our Unleash the Power of Your Story live masterclass. And I am getting super excited for, once again, that training coming up. And it's always, like I said, one of the favorite things that I have the opportunity to do with you. And so I love the conversation that we are about to unpack today, which is the science and the art of storytelling. And I'm going to tell you, this one, when I heard you make your comment the first time, I said, oh my God, she is firing shots.
Really?
And so I'm just going to let our super achievers know shots are going to be fired today. Okay. So before we fire the shots, I want to take a moment to welcome all of our super achievers onto our live stream today. So as you join us, do us a favor, drop in the comment section. Let us know where you are watching from. We would like to know who you serve in your business and how you serve in your business, and most of all, how we can connect with you. And over the weekend, I did have the opportunity to welcome new members into our Storytelling for Super Achievers community. So, welcome and shout out to all of our new super achievers who have joined us in our community. And like I said before, one of the things Suzanne and I have been doing over the course of the last week or so is having these wonderful conversations around speaking and storytelling as we gear up for our Unleash the Power of Your Story training that's coming up. And as part of that, what we're doing is hosting a live masterclass. And that masterclass is happening this Thursday, May the 16th, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So this is your invitation if you have not registered as yet. And I say this all the time, but we know we have some people, Suzanne, like they wait absolutely until the last minute. It never fails. Okay. I know
Absolutely.
there are some people out there who have been checking this out on the live stream and they're teetering, they're straddling the fence, they're quite not sure whether this is for them or how they can make it work or fit into their business. And I am just going to say, if you have questions around your speaking, questions around your story, if you have a story, don't know how to share your story, how to incorporate your story into your communication, then definitely this is the master class for you. So don't delay. Take a minute to look at the description. The link is in the description of the video. We just make it super easy for you to just go ahead and click on the link and register. Okay. And so before we jump into our conversation today, like I said, shots are going to be fired. Do you have anything that you want to share with our super achievers before we get started?
I think it is the countdown is on, and if you want to transform your speaking, and I think the key thing is oftentimes when we talk about speaking, people think of the big stage and they exclude themselves because they're like, I don't want to be a speaker. Well, I didn't want to be a speaker either, and I started speaking just to be able to be comfortable where I stood. And eventually I started taking the front of the room and then getting on bigger stages. But really, when you think about it, speaking is a huge skill of all leaders. And we speak all the time, whether it be standing up in the boardroom, standing up in a meeting, facilitating a small group, going to a networking event, being asked a question, or yes, taking the stage. Whatever you're doing, you want to be able to be articulate, clear, powerful, and confident. And one of the things we say to our students is that requires practice, that requires clarity, and that's what we're here to provide you with, an opportunity to practice and an opportunity to get clear by learning the two structures that we use that really just make it a lot simpler to command the stage right where you stand. Flip open your camera and impact.
Yeah, awesome. And so once again, if you have not secured your seat onto our masterclass, take a moment to go to www.utplivemasterclass.com. Join us this Thursday, May the 16th at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Now, I'm going to go ahead and ask the question to our super achievers out there. How many of you have ever thought about why some stories resonate more than others? And if that's you, if you've ever had that question, just go ahead and drop a one in the comment section. Let us know. And it's such an important question, right, Suzanne? Because sometimes we take a look at people that we see on stages, and some speakers, some influencers have the ability to move audiences to action. I remember a time being at a conference, and I saw one of the most amazing things. This gentleman, he was able to take the stage, and as he finished his presentation, the call to action was so great. He led everyone out the room. I don't think I have ever seen anything of that magnitude before. When his call to action was meet me by my table, and his table was outside the room, and like literally everybody in the audience got up and met him at his table. And then there's the polar opposite to that, when you see some people on the stage and they get up and they speak and they're struggling, to be able to move their audience to action. And so if you've ever had that question, then just go ahead, drop that in the comment section. Let us know if you want to know what it takes to do that. That's what we're getting ready to unpack here today. Now, I said to the top of the stream that shots are going to be fired today. I'm just letting everybody know. And this is the shot that Suzanne fired. And when I heard her say this, I was like, ooh, they're going to come and get you. And one of the things that you said was, not because you get on the stage and you talk means you're a speaker.
I did.
Yeah.
I did.
And I was like, oh my gosh, that is a tough one, because we spend a lot. So let me frame this up. So we spend a lot of time talking around the fear of speaking and the challenge that a lot of people, including myself, face when it comes to taking the stage. And I know that there are some people out there that say, wow, I'm not afraid to take the stage. I don't have a fear of speaking. I could get up there and I could talk on end. And then there you come and you say, well, that doesn't make you a speaker though.
I did. And I say it with all due respect, but I believe it's a truth. And if anyone who has worked, and I'm thinking of, Lethea Owens, I'm thinking of Bernice Flygirl, Lisa Nichols, the list goes on. I'm talking about women right now, but yes, the guys are out there too. And if you watch these individuals, they have honed a craft. They have studied, they have practiced, they have spent time and invested in this craft. And that is the distinction, because they understand that when they stand up in front of the room, they're not just speaking, they're communicating to impart an action, to impart information, to move people to a certain place. Now, if you just want to get up and have a conversation, that's brilliant. Then have that conversation. However, if your intention is to have an end result that results in action, then you definitely want to master this skill. And so there's a structure, there's a science, there's a way to do it. And I remember the first time the person who encouraged me to speak, I saw him on stage. He was 70 something at the time. And I watched this man move an audience, and it looked like he was just having a conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, well, I can do that. I can get up and just have a conversation once I got past my fear. And so I did. And not the same thing happened. Well, this was the thing. He had practiced his craft so well that you couldn't even see.
Yeah.
So it felt to me like he was having a conversation. It felt to me like he was telling a story, but he was telling it in a particular way, using particular words, and having a clear rhythm, doing certain things at a certain time. But I didn't know what he was doing. So it just felt like a conversation. And I think that's what most people don't know, is that there's a science and a structure behind it all.
Mhm. Yeah. And it's so true because even for me, I'll go ahead and share. One of the things that, used to freak me out was like you see people having these wonderful conversations, brilliant, and it almost seems like they're talking off the top of their head. Yet
Yeah.
still, they have the ability to be so inspiring and the ability to move an audience to get the desired action. And one of the things that I used to tell myself, I can't do that. I am not a winged person. And so I used to think, like, oh my gosh, what it took was, you know, months on end of preparation. And the thing is, until I really understood that there is a particular way to do it, like you said, that there's a structure, that's when things, became enlightened for me. I was just like, oh, there's a way that you actually lay things out. There's a way that you position certain
Yeah.
questions. There's a way that you position, your call to actions, what you want people to do. And you do that, and it seems like it's seamlessly a conversation between you and the audience. And so I liken it to, to a dance. How do you have that or create that dance with the perfect rhythm? Like most dancers, when they're up there on stage, they're flawless. It seems, so seamless. But what it really takes is a lot of practice. And go ahead.
Absolutely. And what's really interesting is that oftentimes when you see great speakers, most people think, oh, they just got up and they just talk. And the reality is, the shorter the talk, oftentimes the more you have to practice,
Yeah.
because you've got to get everything in a very short period of time. The longer the talk, you still have to practice, because long talks, you got to remain engaging, you got to do all these different things. So people will say to me, Suzanne can just get up and generate content and wing it.
Mhm.
And I'm like, I may look like I'm winging it. However, that's from a lot of practice, and still a lot more practice to go. And I really want to highlight the point here. When we talk about positioning things, people often go to the sales process, and I have a product I want to sell. Well, I want to just remind everybody that we're always selling. You sell to your children when you want them to do something. You sell, to the man at the store when you're trying to negotiate a better price, like all these different things. And so imagine knowing how to enroll someone in a possibility for themselves in such a way that they're excited about it, and it doesn't feel like you're banging them, pulling them, cajoling them, coercing them. That's really what we're talking about. And we do this all the time, whether it be enrolling your team in a new idea, getting your team to enroll in the possibility of a change that might be uncomfortable. It can be, wanting someone to get in contact with you after this networking meeting and remember you. Like all these things, we're not talking just the sale. We're talking about engagement. We're talking about enrollment. We're talking about the possibility to connect with someone in such a way that, one, they feel like you have something for them that is of value and they want to know more. That is what we're really talking about. And that's not just getting up and talking, because oftentimes when we get up and talk, we talk about ourselves.
Yeah.
And we're not really present to what's the goals, needs of the person, and where how do we engage that? And these are the things that we're looking at.
Yeah, yeah, and it's so true because, like I said, that was one of the things that made speaking intimidating for me because it felt like, oh my gosh, I'm just up here speaking and like, oh, what do I say? Am I really connecting? And sometimes you have that experience when you're on the stage and you look at your audience and they have that glazed over look. I'm not ashamed to say that that has happened to me quite a couple of times until I really understood and put this into practice. And so I love the word that you use is being able to enroll your audience. When we talk about enrollment, is being able to enroll them in that vision, enroll them of a new possibility, and then it becomes less about us, but more so about them, and then the transformation that you're able to help them achieve. And
Mhm.
so I want to go back just a little bit because I'm going to tell you one of my favorite sayings, Suzanne, is structure creates freedom. Now,
Ah,
I'm going to tell you this. That wasn't always my favorite thing.
I don't think it's whenever I say it to anyone, they look at me like, what do you mean? It's no one's favorite thing because most people want to feel free, they want to wing it, they want to do all these different things so that I'm just going to do my thing. And while that's great, it doesn't always work.
Yeah, yeah. And so being able, to have the structure definitely takes a lot of the pressure, off when you're on stage, when you're in conversation, because I like to call it your guidelines or your guardrails of your speaking. And so I just want to go ahead and just kind of pique your brain just a little bit. How did you come across the structure? How did you create the structure? I think that would be a cool thing for us to share with our super achievers as we prepare for the masterclass.
Well, the two structures that we use, the 10-step talk structure, when as you know, when I started speaking, I was deathly afraid of speaking. And I worked with a beautiful gentleman by the name of David Wood. And David Wood introduced me to this structure. And it took me from being afraid to feeling clear and confident because it told me exactly what I had to do when I took the stage and how and when. It told me when to tell my story, when to teach my lessons. Like it told me all these different things. Now, the structure that he used was really for the very beginning of your talk, when we're the most nervous, right?
Mm,
I then decided I'm going to expand it and I'm going to put in when to teach your lessons,
yeah,
when to deliver content, when like after you tell your story, how do you break down your content in such a way that it's helpful for you and the audience? Because how many people get so excited you got so much content that you leave your audience in absolute overwhelm, not mentioning any names. However, However, there is a system to that. So we talk about, no more than 3 lessons. Don't overwhelm your audience because it is way more important that they leave with 1 or 2 points with clarity that they
right.
feel that they can use than having a whole bunch of stuff that they're so overwhelmed that they forget as
Yeah,
soon as they leave. So I took that structure and just expanded it and broke it down a little bit more because that's just what worked for me. I think the other thing was the storytelling structure. And for me, when I started telling stories, people told me the story structure was before I did this, then after. And I was like, really? That's it? And so me being curious, I decided to do a lot of research on storytelling. One, I just think it's the most fascinating thing. So I started studying David Campbell's work. I started looking at movies. I started looking at fairy tales. I started taking courses. I started looking at sales copy. And then Eureka, in the middle of writing a sales copy course, I just had this epiphany. I was like, there is a talk structure for storytelling. And when I say tell a story that plays like a movie, That is the structure we want to impart to you, because imagine being able to take someone from a problem that is got you so upside down and so frustrated to the place where the pain gets so great that you decide you must do something, to you having an aha moment, that epiphany that leads you on a journey of transformation. Well, transformation can't happen without lessons. And so you go on this journey of learning these lessons, lessons, the hard knocks, and you're rising from the ashes and you're coming through. Well, when you come out the other side, you've got some new knowledge that has nothing to do with your skill set, but has to do with surviving the journey. And so for me, what I think is one of the big differentiators is those little places and spaces where you have struggled, where you have fought, that no one is talking to your clients about. And you can go in and say, I know you got this skill, but let me talk to you about when I fell down. Let me talk to you about how discouraged I became. Let me talk to you about what they didn't tell you. All those things you now get to impart. What does it do? It builds credibility, because it takes you beyond skills to say experience. Because we can go to school for skills, but I know when I got my degree and I went out to work, I was like, they did not prepare me for this craziness. Like, seriously. There was nothing in my classes that prepared me for what I stepped into. Many of us have that experience, but imagine having a guide that was going to say, okay, so when you graduate, let me tell you a few things that are going to happen that no one's telling you. That's the beauty of what we're talking about. And that's what earns us the right to be someone's guide.
Absolutely. And so, once again, this definitely has been a game changer for me in my business, being able to have the structure. And like I said, the structure creates freedom because it kept me from being in my head, but it also kept me focused on, you know, where I want to take my audience to, what's the end goal, and then how do I do that? And being the person who used to show up as this is the content, let's just stick to the content, nothing else to see here, guys, to definitely knowing, how to choose the stories to highlight the content and how to tell the stories in a certain way that would actually enroll, my audience, my clients in that journey with me is absolutely amazing. And so I just want to say this is what's available to our super achievers who have decided to join us this week actually, for the Unleash the Power of Your Story Masterclass. Okay, so we're going to be touching on storytelling. We're going to talk a little bit about the two frameworks that have Suzanne has learned, developed, implemented, that allowed her to position in the marketplace to get seen, hired, and paid what he worth. And that's what a lot of people are looking at. Like, how do I show up in such a way that, number one, I could get recognized out there in the marketplace. People would want to hire me as the expert, and then I could start to command the fees that I want to command in my business. Okay, so if that's you as a super achiever, and you know that that's what you need, that's the next step for you. This is your open invitation to join us on Thursday, May the 16th, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I am going to get my little thing just going across this screen. Oh no, it's going to work today.
I think the other thing, Tria, that I really want to add for those people who are like, oh my gosh, I get so nervous, I become so afraid. Not only do the two structures really begin to ground you and have you feel more confident, but one of the things that happened for me as you prepare and you build out these two structures, it takes the focus off you, the focus on who you're attempting to speak to, the audience. And a lot of it, because oftentimes we get in our head about all the things and it's all about us. However, when you start looking at how do I engage this audience? How do I enroll? What story should I share so I can move them? The focus goes to a very different place. And so for me, it is about a conversation and a relationship that I'm having with people who are sitting in the audience, where my commitment is to engage them and to inspire them to take an action. And so when I started focusing there and forgot about Suzanne, Suzanne became less nervous because I wasn't the center of attention. And yes, you're on stage and yes, you're standing up, but you're not the star in my world. The audience is the star. And when you make the audience the star, the game changes.
That's also another powerful one, but we're not going to get into that. At least not on this, not on this live stream. But that one right there is another golden ticket, like to make the audience the star of your presentation and the star of your talk. Okay, and so, like I said, if you have not registered and secure your spot to join us this Thursday, this is your opportunity to. And for those of you who have registered and secured your spot already, and you're dropping in and tuning into this live stream, we just want to say thank you. We're super excited, to see you on Thursday, and bring your questions. We'll be happy to hear some of the things that are going on in your world and how Unleash the Power of Your Story will be able to help you move forward. And so, with that being said, just say take care, everyone, and we'll be back here tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with another five.
All right. Well, take care, everyone, and we will see you tomorrow.
All right. Bye.